I'm here at the Toronto After Dark Film Festival with legendary filmmaker Larry Fessenden. And my first question is, how'd you get, I've looked at your resume this morning, and I have to say I'm quite impressed. You've been in a lot of amazing pictures, worked with a lot of amazing directors. You directed yourself. How'd you get started in the film business?
Well, you know, I was just a kid. I loved acting. I wanted to be an actor, actually, and I did a lot of high school plays and that sort of thing. And then I started directing when I was in high school and realized that I really liked so many aspects of filmmaking or you know, showbiz. And then I got a Super 8 camera and I got involved with how that is such an important part of storytelling. So all of that. And then I went to NYU Film School, the undergraduate as my college, and did a lot of video there, and just so it was born to make movies.
So you've been making movies since the 80s, and you've seen a transformation in the technology of filmmaking from like film, and now primarily a lot of, especially little independent films are being shot on digital. You shot on film back in the day, I would assume?
Well, the funny thing is, in the 80s I realized you could make movies in video, and so I made a whole bunch of videos and feature-length videos in the 80s, and then came the 90s. I sort of was working up to make film, and I shot 3 movies, one in Super 16, one in 16, and the other in Super 16. So that was my big thing, was to finally make movies in celluloid, and everybody was like, well, don't you want to make movies in video? And I was like, I did that in the 80s, you know. So my main thing is it's not about format. It's fun to shoot film, but not for any other reason than if that's the look you're after. The fact is, I produce a lot of films now, and we enjoy shooting in HD, but I still make movies in Super 8. I produced a movie in Super 8 called Automatons. Awesome film.
With Angus Scrim was in that.
And Angus is in that. So, you know, really it's not about format. It's the format that suits the picture, and of course the budget. There's no excuses now. You can really make a movie for next to nothing.
And we're seeing a lot of that at the festivals. A lot of people just scraping, putting together some money, getting a camera and just doing it.
Absolutely. And then it's essential that you be able to, you know, tell your story, and that's the focus. But I'll tell you one thing, it's funny, nowadays I suggest, well, we could do that in 16, guys, and they're all like, what are you talking about? And it's not even budget. I just think, you know, people are finally losing their kind of
pretentiousness, perhaps?
What? No, it's just their ability to process what that's going to entail. And
well, because when you shoot on film, you've got to go get dailies, and you've got to see what you shot. On digital, you can see it immediately.
That's right.
So
a little bit of the old fear back into the process, like we used to have in the old days.
You never knew if it exposed or not.
You had no fucking idea what your day was, whether you finished your day until 2 days later you get your dailies. Yeah.
And you've made a lot of genre pictures over the years. What keeps you going in the genre pictures?
Well, I always say that I'm just wired that way. You know, I even as we sit here, I look around, I see an empty room, I see, you know, hauntings, and but more specifically, I've always just had sort of a slightly paranoid nature. I just see the world filled with a sense of the potential for things to go wrong. So I kind of live in a genre reality, and so my
art films are going to reflect that?
Yeah, that's the truth. And then sometimes I'll settle down to write a story, and it just goes horribly.
Oh, right.
Yeah, right. It's just, that's my nature. So that's why I do the genre thing.
As a director, you've also been an actor in a lot of other great directors' films, like Martin Scorsese, Bringing Out the Dead, Brad Anderson, Session 9. Mulberry Street quite recently.
Jim Mickle, and I was in a Steve Buscemi film called
Animal Factory.
Yeah, Animal. Thank you for knowing. Yeah.
Eddie Bunker.
By Eddie Bunker.
What was it like? Did you get to meet Eddie Bunker?
I met Eddie Bunker.
What was that
and
like?
He signed my book. Well, he's a tough cookie, and I had read Dog Eat Dog actually.
That's one of his great novels.
One of my favorites of his, even more than Animal Factory itself, and. Well, he was everything you imagined. I mean, you talk about a genuine character. He was just a grumpy, incredibly smart guy. It was amazing to hang out with him, and so I was very honored to meet him. And that was a nice project. Willem Dafoe was very kind to me. I had a little more time with the actors than is actually end up on screen. You know, that's very typical when you're a small role.
Yeah, a lot of stuff.
That's the first stuff to go, but But we had some good screen time and
Great experience.
great experience. And Buscemi is a local hero. I used to watch him as a performance artist in my neighborhood, and he was one of the first to break out. So it was fun to then be in his film. And I was in Jim Jarmusch's film Broken Flowers, another local hero.
Yeah, you got to punch out Bill Murray.
I did indeed.
How was that?
Well, Bill is every bit, that same wry character that he is in his movies. He's just endlessly teasing and fun, and it was great being in the makeup, trailer with him. He's conducting the music and
Great way to start off the day.
Yeah, absolutely, and always bitching and just very fun and teasing Jim Jarmusch, which was funny too. So it was a great experience as well. Yeah.
When you're like say on set with Martin Scorsese, that must be amazing. You must sit there and absorb the process that he's making a movie.
Oh yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, Marty is one of my absolute heroes, and it's not like he was directing me so much. But the thing I'll tell you about this is that on the one hand he was off with the monitors and stuff, but the way he would conduct these moving sequences was so interesting, and you realize how kinetic and how much he understands when he's directing, just how it's going to cut together. Like, for example, in the scene I'm in, I'm just a character that has passed by, and so the camera's going this way, and he's doing that, and then he's doing that shot, and you could just tell that he knew the timing. And, that's Scorsese for you. He's such a kinetic filmmaker, and it was incredible to see it unfolding on the set. It was great.
So, Glass Eye Pix, you're the president of that. When did that get founded?
Well, back in the 80s when I was making the video pictures.
Oh, so it's been
since 1985. I came up with the name. I can't even. My friend gave me a glass eye and said, here's to your vision or something sweet like that. And I was trying to figure out a name for my company when I made a film in 1985, and it just all came together. And Pix, P-I-X, comes from an old Cagney movie where they're quoting a Variety article, Sticks, Nick, Six Picks. So,
awesome.
Yeah, it's all my stuff together.
So you produced the film we're going to see on Friday, I Sell the Dead.
Absolutely.
What was that experience like?
It's very special. I tend to work with a group of people, and
you're known as creating a community.
I really believe in that sort of thing. In the greater world, I think it's essential, but in our world, this is Glenn McQuaid. He's an Irishman. He's coming to New York. He did a lot of special effects for different things. I hooked up with him, and he did the bats in a movie I made called The Roost that I produced. And so he's a CGI guy and so on. And then he showed me this script. He actually invited me to be in a short film where I play a grave robber with an apprentice. And then over time he said, look, I've got a feature version, and it was great. And so, it was a long haul. We came to cast on one hand with my partner Peter Polk, the other producer.
You've worked with Ron Perlman before.
And then I had worked with Ron Perlman on The Last Winter, and we were able to say, hey Ron, Ron and I are sort of buddies, and it was just great to be able to call him. And he said, well, you gotta wait for a year. And we said, well, I will wait. So we did a lot of the production, and then we took time off, and then we came back. So it's been a great thing, and I'm very happy to be in the movie, not just because I found the money, but also because it was kind of written for my guy, because Glenn was thinking that way when he made the short. So it's been a fun experience for me, and then we got Angus Scrim to be in it, and Angus is going to join us at our festival this weekend, and we're very happy for that. And Angus has been in a couple of our movies, and he's just a real trooper, and we love to have the idea of Glass Eye is to make genre films sort of from the heart, and really, really scrappy films.
Yeah, you make genre pictures, but there's a lot of intellectualism in them also.
Well, a little bit. I mean, I think a movie has to be about something. I actually don't encourage people to just make movies. There's plenty of them, unless if you have something to say, and it doesn't have to be intellectual, and it certainly doesn't have to. My movies are very preachy. I'm trying to solve the problems of the world in my horror films, which is an odd combo, but But I mean, it's a tradition in horror. You know, you have a lot of movies are about the apocalypse or about something gone wrong. Let's face it, Frankenstein is about, you know, playing God and whether that's the right thing to be doing. So it's a tradition in horror. I'm not embarrassed at all by it. I believe in that. I think there's a message to be found in all this kind of stuff. That's part of the excitement of it. And then, but also, so there's the idea of something worthwhile to be said in the genre, and then there's also the fun and the traditions, and that's why it's fun to go back to some of these old timers like Angus and see what else they have in them. And you know, Angus has done some very different roles in our movie from the tall man. So it's just been awesome, and it's so fun to celebrate, you know, the sort of the traditions of the genre. It's the best genre, you know. I make other types of movies as well, but
yeah, you produced Lucy and
Wendy and Lucy, which
had
it was in Cannes and
yeah.
you know, New York Film Festival. Very I won't say highbrow because I know Kelly and she's a very down-to-earth filmmaker, but you know, it's gotten those kind of accolades, and very happy to be involved with her and another female filmmaker, Elia Chaikin. Also very proud of a movie called Liberty Kid that's coming out on DVD. And so, you know, there's lots of stories to tell, and I'm mostly interested in just a certain type of realism, a certain type of honesty in the filmmaking, and that can happen in the genre, and it certainly can happen in a social realist kind of a thing. And it's not all dreary, you know. A lot. I Saw the Dead is a comedy. You know,
there's still
it's
hope
really a
in the
goofy
world.
thing.
You can't lose all hope.
There's a little bit of hope. There's just a little bit
with
of hope.
Pandora's Box, all the evils came out, but there was hope.
That's right.
So there's a
Beautiful.
little bit of hope.
And there's a movie to be made, right? I mean, it's funny you mention it. You know, I'm so inspired by old myths and how those things can be retold in a modern telling. Why don't we work on a Pandora's Box movie?
Let's do it right now.
Awesome, dude.
Awesome.
All right.